Hi guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Make It Easy podcast. My name is Shalomeni, and in case you're new here, this is the Make It Easy podcast where we have conversations that just challenge your way of thinking and make you look at life from a more positive angle. And I'm so excited. Today's episode is going to be one amazing one, of course, just like all the other episodes. And thank you for the feedback that you guys are giving on the episode that you did with Mumbi last week, and I hope that you are getting to practicalize each and everything, and that your faith journey is becoming easier. Yeah. So today we'll be having another guest, and I'll let him introduce himself.
First, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me here. So yes, my name is Ephraim Kalubi. In a few words, I would say I'm a brand and marketing strategist. I'm an agency owner and a podcast host as well, which is quite interesting. So that's basically how I would introduce myself in a few words. Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's good. So good to have you today, and thank you for accepting our invite. So today's conversation, we'll be talking about crafting your path. So we'll be talking about everything business and entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So I'd like you to give us context of how it has been for you, or how your journey has been, your entrepreneurial journey has been. Yeah. So just give us a brief of how that has been for you.
All right. So in regards to my entrepreneurship journey, basically it's been a process leading up to where I am. And obviously, I would say I'm definitely still at the very beginning of my journey as well. So everything is still and yet to be done, but I'm glad to be at a place where there's also enough clarity on where actually trying to put my focus on. So as for my entrepreneurship journey, it's been filled with ups and downs, obviously, but specifically talking about maybe the agency or the podcast or the personal brand, there are separate stories for each one of them. So if you want to narrow down on one specific thing or another, that's where I can be able to kind of expand and kind of go deeper regarding that, I guess. I
think, tell us about a bit of everything, but especially I want us to focus on the marketing agency.
Yeah, yes. So for the marketing agency, it's basically something that came as a conclusion to so many different things that I've been trying. So in the past, when I got started in uni, let's say 5 years ago, I had different interests. So basically, as a creative person, you know that you have so many things that you want to put out there, and it's usually very scattered. It's very scattered. You have this interest in doing social media, you have this interest in doing graphic design, you want to do this and that, and pretty much I had to go through different phases to get to a place where I was like, you know what? There's all these different interests, there's all these things that I want to do. How can I channel everything, compact it within one structure, within one platform, in order to be able now to focus that energy and actually bring value, because that's the point. And that journey has been a journey of self-discovery, I think determination as well, and being able to be fixated on the goal and on the objective. Initially, I wanted to start first working on anything multimedia, video production, etc. And Exonic Media, as it is today, was not Exonic Media, it was Exonic Production. So the focus was just mostly on just doing video production services and photography and things like that. That's where I was like, that's what I want to focus on. Even in university, actually. Initially, I didn't want to do the IBA, International Business Administration. I wanted to do film school. Yeah, I know you've been talking off camera, but maybe I haven't mentioned that. But it's deviated because I was like, you know what? Long term, I want to start something of my own. Long term, obviously, I want to be able to be self-employed and to provide services, because I feel like there's so many things that I actually want to bring to the table. So now, what exactly can I do right now that will lead me there? If I do just film school studies, etc., yes, I will graduate in that, but will it allow me to explore the full extent of all the things that I have in me that I want to share? That's not really a good idea. But by doing some sort of a business oriented major, that gives you a wider perspective, because you understand, okay, how the business operates, how can I run my own business when I get in a position to do that? And regardless of all the different ideas that I have, when I have that business know-how, it will be easier for me now to put that together and to drive basically a structure like this instead of just having it narrowed down. So it's been trial and error. I started with photography, did a bit of photography in my first and second year of university. It was okay, but then I switched. I was like, you know what, let me try in terms of video production and all that. Did a little bit of that, a few gigs here and there. And I reached a point where I was like, you know what, I have this creative spirit about me, and whether it's photography, graphic design, anything that has to do with doing things creatively.
Yeah.
So how can I focus that in one point, in one channel point? So that was the idea. And I was like, okay, this Exonic production there. How about just merging it all up? Because I'm also doing business and doing marketing. I noticed that there are so many things that could be still done also within the marketing industry, because that's also a major that I did. So I think it's been a journey of trial and error, self-discovery, and getting to a conclusion where now I got to merge everything together and saying, okay, with all these different things, the best thing to do is to compact everything within one structure that I can be able now to deliver from there. And that's the way I can be able to actually have the maximum impact and bring the most value, I think. That's how I looked at it, basically. That's how I can put that in a few words, obviously.
So how long has Exonic production?
Media. Yes.
Sorry for that. How long has Exonic Media been? When did you start it?
Basically last year.
Last year?
Yeah. Last year, that's when I got clarity about what I wanted to put the focus on. And then now bringing or initiating basically the energy around that. And Exonic, I know it's kind of a weird term, but it stands for something. So exotic, authentic, and unique.
Exotic,
authentic and unique. I just wanted to bring a different approach to how I think marketing is done, because there's so many layers to marketing, to branding, to media production and all that.
Yeah.
So in Exonic Media, the idea is to have all these different branches. Let's say you are a brand, right?
Yeah.
Or a business. Just shortly after graduating, before getting to what I'm doing as a 9-to-5, because yes, I'm still doing a 9-to-5. We are heading there today. I started in a marketing agency where I did an internship. And I noticed that so many businesses were coming to us. And they're like, yes, I have this and this product, this and this service that I'm offering, and I want you guys to help me market, boost the business online, etc. But those businesses will not even have an identity. They will not even be clear as to who they are as businesses. And I think that's quite a gap. The concept of branding, the concept of who you are as a brand is just like a person. You know, you have a personality to the brand. You have fonts to the brand. You have a tone of voice. You have so many other things that are very much bypassed by people who are just, I'm starting a business, I want to get it launched, I want to get it started as soon as possible. And the idea behind the Exonic Media is really to be able to take you through that comprehensive process. So first, understanding what are you? Who are you as a business? What are you trying to convey? What is your target audience? And then how can we sculpt your business around that? I don't know if you're familiar with the psychology of colors. Coca-Cola has reddish color for a reason. I don't know, Red Bull, the bluish, the symbols, the terminology, the way they approach things, it's an entire science that so many businesses are bypassing. And they're surprised why they're not able to have enough market penetration, or they're not able to gain enough a share of the market share, basically. Why? Because they fail to clearly define their identity as a brand, as a business. So the idea behind Exonic Media is to take you through that comprehensive process, really. And it's a journey, and it's a process, and it's so many long nights of iterating, thinking, restructuring, scrapping things. And I'm definitely still at the beginning of my journey as well. But I'm so glad that I have so much, at least, clarity about the direction that I want to take. So that's the idea behind Exonic Media. It's not something that I woke up one day and I was like, okay, let's go Exonic Media. It's the culmination of so many different things that I've been trying out, putting them together and being like, okay, ideally, this is now the package, this is the entire thing, and this is where I'm trying to go with this initiative, basically. That's the idea.
Okay. I think I've gotten something that you said. You started this, the idea came about during your second year of university. So how easy or how hard has it been to implement whatever you learned in classroom, in class, before you now Exonic Media came to be? Because I feel young people mostly, we have ideas. We have so many ideas, but don't have a way to start. We don't have a criteria. So do you think whatever you learned through your 4 years in campus, has there been an avenue where you've gotten to practicalize everything or things that you got to learn?
You like that term, and practicalize. I've heard you say it like 2-3 times, even off camera. And it's good. So I think, personally, I believe like university education is not meant to be that main answer that will give you all the highlights on how to do everything that you want to do. And I think it's a concept that's slowly getting obsolete by the day. I don't know if you noticed that so many other people are like, you know what, I'm done with secondary school, high school. I just want to get straight to business and do my own stuff. I can't blame them. Actualizing and putting in application some concept from uni, yes, there's a few things that I've learned in uni. During the business major, I did international business administration. There are a few things, but the idea is you have to have clarity. And I think so many people, I don't know in your audience, how much in terms of percentage and etc. are still in high school or haven't gotten to that place where they're like, okay, now I'm done with high school and I want to get started with uni. I think it's quite a crucial moment to really reflect. I know you're like, I'm just getting started, like what's going on? I'm not even quite sure where to go. But deep within your soul, you know exactly how you want to orient your life and the stuff that you want to do. Try to do something that is in alignment with that. So from the business major, yes, I learned a few concepts, but those were just, I would say, foundation, basics. And how I use that is basically taking all those concepts and now digging deeper from those concepts and trying now to expand them, because uni just gives you the basic fundamental tools. Don't take uni as that place where you'll be able to learn everything, and then when you're out of uni, you've learned everything there is in order to make your thing. It's just the step, it's just the basics, basically. And that's how I look at it. So I've learned 2-3 things, but most, and I'll be honest, most of the things that were actually quite like you say, aha moments, or like those moments where you're like, okay, this is clear, okay, I want to go this way, have been things that I've discovered on my own, doing my own research on specific topics, based on maybe a few basics I got in uni, right? So that's how I look on how maybe a few things I've learned in uni have impacted. It's more of doing your own homework, choosing a major that is in alignment with what you want to do, but be willing to say that is just that, but I have to put 3 times more work to actually be able to develop all those concepts and explore more in terms of what I want to actually be doing.
I love what you've said, that uni is just a percentage. You'll just get to have a percentage of what you want, of the bigger picture. Because I think most people, when they finish campus, they're like, okay, I did, for example, international business, so they expect like whatever it is they were willing or they were looking forward to start to be very instant. And I think you have just clearly explained that it's just a percentage, and you have to do more. Like, it calls you coming out of your comfort zone and going to make that extra step. So I think one thing I would also like you to clarify, just to make it easy for us here, is how do you think young people can identify, or which criteria can they use to identify their strengths or weaknesses, and how can they leverage that in their area of business or entrepreneurship?
That's a very good question that I actually love to talk about. And I'm glad that, we were seated back there, just a small interaction, and I told you about the Ikigai concept. And you were like, yeah, I'm familiar with that. So it's a Japanese concept. The idea of Ikigai. So Iki means life, and then Gai means meaning. So meaning of life, or the meaning that you're deciding or choosing to attach to a life. And if you look it up, Ikigai, G-A-I, you look it up, you see there's some diagrams with circles. So you have different circles. You have, purpose, you have, monetary income, and so many other things. So finding your Ikigai is finding that singular spot in the middle that comes at the intersections of all those circles. So it's not, because there's also this concept online, follow your passion, If you love that, go for it. There's a degree of that. right? But you have to do it in an intelligent way.
Yeah.
In the sense that, okay, I know maybe I'm passionate about, let's say, I don't know, music, all right? I want to do music. You're like, that's your passion, it drives you, you love that. But you have to look at all those other circles. Is this thing actually gonna provide for me financially? Will this thing bring me actual fulfillment on the long run? There's so many other things. So I encourage you to look it up, Ikigai. So how do you find, how do you identify your strengths and weaknesses? That was the question. But also I look at it as how do you just find like purpose, in the sense is first, and I think I did a video about that, a short reel. You know, every single one of us knows when you peel off the layers and you go at the depth of yourself, you know exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know exactly what you love. You know exactly that thing that I don't mind if I did this and it didn't bring any income or anything. I just love that. You know what that is. And if you don't know or if you don't have clarity, take some time, sit down, reflect and think about it. You'll be able to identify it. Then from there, try now to put it against all these other elements. Like, okay, if I focus on that, how can I integrate that for it to also bring value to others? How can I integrate that for it to also be able to generate something for me in a monetary way?
Yeah.
Can it sustain me? So once you've been able to identify that Ikigai, you're able now to put your focus on. Because strength, weaknesses, I mean, yes, there are strengths and weaknesses to us and to several aspects, but when you are in touch with your purpose, when you're in touch with that divine drop that was placed in you, that's the area in which you are the most likely to succeed, regardless of all the peripeties and all the challenges that life might throw at you, because it's something that you deeply believe in at your core, right? So now once you've been able to identify that, you can now go on that journey of trying to actualize that. And you'll see in the implementation of this, in the, what's that term you use? Practicalization?
Practicalization.
Hey, in the practicalization of that, maybe this will require public speaking and I'm not yet good at that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to take some public speaking courses. I'm gonna try to consult Shalom and read maybe her latest book and figure out something. Because you're not just doing it as in sitting and being like, okay, I have this strength and this weak. You can't know it until you start working towards something. Once you start working towards something, you'll be able to identify the areas where you suck, the areas where you're great. And because you are following something that you're deeply passionate about, you'll have the drive to work on the areas where you are not necessarily as performant. So it's not really about focusing on what am I good at, where am I not good at. First, identify your purpose, identify your Ikigai, and in trying to actualize and implement that, you'll identify the areas where you need to level up and to kind of like build up towards, going there. I don't know if this answers your question.
Yeah, I think you answered it very well, and it has just reminded. And if the second episode we did on clarity of purpose, and our guest was explaining to us how purpose is preordained. Like everyone, and we were just talking about it earlier. Like everyone has. We all have a purpose. Everyone is born with a purpose. So for you, you just have to come out of that comfort zone and discover, okay, this is what is my purpose. This is what I'm called to do. Now let me work towards making it better. Because most people, yes, I know I'm gifted. I know I have this purpose, but you're not doing anything. We're just seated. You're waiting for. I don't know what we are waiting for, but this calls us to come out of our comfort zone and just decide, okay, this is what I am gifted in. Let me go out there. It might feel very unfamiliar. It really feels unfamiliar. You might doubt yourself. You will doubt yourself. But just making that bold step of deciding, okay, this is what I want to do. Let me do it.
Sure.
Everything else will align itself, and you'll realize it was not as easy or it was not as hard as you imagined it to be. So I think I want more clarity on another thing I was just thinking about. Tell us about your persistence journey, because this is easier said than done. And going into the entrepreneurship and business world can be very, intimidating. That's the word. So how has it been for you? Give us an example where you felt like, oh my, this one feels like I just need to quit. And the importance of staying persistent. Because now, what we young people do, when we get through these waves and storms, are like, I give up. I'm not called out for this, so we just give up. So how has it been for you going or being persistent or just moving on despite the setbacks that you got in your entrepreneurship journey?
One word that I'll tell you. It's quite clear in my mind. I think you have to be determined. Of course, that persistence doesn't come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It comes from one word: conviction. You have to have conviction in what you're doing.
Yeah.
You have to be. It has to be so clear in your mind, you know. Hence the need to take the time to do the background work in order to identify. And sometimes it can change as well.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes maybe you're fixating on something, and as you're working towards that, you discover another aspect of yourself that you didn't know, and you're like, by the way, that's not actually the goal. I think I would set a bigger goal because maybe there's this other element that came. So don't also expect it to be a click. So in terms of challenges, of course, you will encounter challenges. I've encountered moments where I was like, what am I even doing?
Why am I doing this?
You know, like, why am I doing that? Why am I so resilient about doing that? What's the point? You know? So in such moment, if you're not grounded enough in what you want to do, it just dissipates. For example, after graduation, for me, for example, I came to this place where it's quite, okay, I'm actually not Kenyan, right? Yeah. So I'm not in my country. So I'm graduating. There are different options, avenues that can come in your way. You like, do I go back home? Do I look for something to do here? For me personally, for example, in building up this agency, things weren't as clear yet, right? So it's like, it's not like I'm just gonna jump from graduating to start doing this thing. There's not really, I would say, a certainty about, okay, this is gonna sustain me and everything. So maybe I have to find something also like a 9-to-5 that will actually kind of keep me going as I'm trying to build towards that. And you have all these doubts and challenges, and you're like, okay, do I stick to this? Do I stick to what I want to do? Or do I just give it all up? Do I just go back and just do what everyone expects me to do and focus on just doing you know, the 9-to-5 and not focusing on trying to build up more in terms of the business itself? But the conviction, that image, that idea that I had in my mind, and that is still very vivid, is like, I really want to get there. I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but because I'm so clear on what I'm trying to achieve, regardless of what is thrown at me, and trust me, there's been quite a number of things, I'll stick to the goal that I have, to the vision that I have, and I'll keep pushing, you know. So your ability to overcome your challenges and to stay grounded in your purpose is definitely, it takes roots in the intensity of your determination, of your vision. So because I think my vision is very clear, and it's very clear what I'm trying to do, that has allowed me to push through. So in one statement, I think if your vision is clear enough, if your goal is clear enough, you will be willing to go through anything, because you know at the end of the tunnel, this is what I see. You can already see it. So many other people around you might not see it. But your ability to stick to that is what keeps you going, is what pushes you, because you can see clearly what you want to do in a way. Yeah, I'd rather not go into the specifics of at that time, that year, I had this problem, and then there's plenty. But what I would just encourage anyone to actually be able to do is always get back to center. And the center for me is that conviction that where you're heading is worth taking all the blows that life will throw at you, because it's worth you putting in the effort, because actually it's going to happen. You have to see it clearly. That's in a few words what I would say. You have to have enough conviction to go through that.
And I think the problem, why most people, when they get to this point where there are a lot of setbacks, they get to quit, is because they don't have a clear conviction of what they want to do. This is something that they probably got into haphazardly, and they're like, okay, let me just do this. So when setbacks come, you don't know what is going to keep you there any longer. So this is just to tell you, in any line of business, in any line of career, in anything that you're doing, make sure you see the bigger picture. Why are you starting? We are so quick to tell you to start, but why are you starting? You need to have a reason or a push behind doing whatever you do.
True.
You know,
Very true.
there's something that they ought to be a drive that makes you do it over and over again. And when you realize why you're doing it, then even when the setbacks come, you won't feel you'll be able to go. You'll be able to tell yourself, okay, because I have this bigger picture in my mind, let me just continue. But if you don't have it, if someone comes and tells you, Ephraim, what are you doing? Be like, okay, I guess I need to quit, because you don't know what you're doing. So getting a clear path and having a conviction of why we do what we do.
And it's a process, guys. It's a process.
It's not easy. You don't wake up and like, okay,
it's a process.
This is what I want to do. It's a process, and we need to give in to the process and go through life as it comes. Yeah. So what is that one thing that you learned from the setbacks or the failures that you've had over the years, even as you are navigating through the entrepreneurship and business world?
It will get back to again what I've said. It's conviction. What has allowed me to keep pushing is just that conviction and the clarity of where I'm actually heading. So it's simply that. Sometimes also people want to complicate things, and I think it comes down to that. It comes down to your conviction. However much life can push you down, and you can have different things that happen to you that put you on the ground literally, because you have that conviction, because you can see clearly where you are heading, somehow you'll find the strength to just step back up and to keep on going. But I'm actually curious, for you, on your journey, do you have a specific thing that felt like a lethal blow that just put you on the ground, and you're like, I don't know how I got back up from that? Because I'm very curious about you as well. I know I'm not supposed to reverse the point
we did talk about
I'm very curious. I'm genuinely trying to learn a little bit about you as well.
So I think we were just talking about this. For me, what keeps me going, or what keeps me getting up even when I feel, I don't want to do this, even when the setbacks come, is the fact that whatever I'm doing or whatever I'm building, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm not doing it for Shalom. I'm doing it for people who will come 10 years after me. I'm doing it for the people who are shy, young people who are trying to navigate their way through life. And when they see Shalom, they'll be like, okay, she's just a young person and she has done it, then I guess I can do it. So I think that is what keeps me going. And I think I've gotten this question a lot. And I'm like, I just do it for the people that will come after me. So that when someone wants to start and then they look at Shalom, they'll be like,
yes,
okay,
it can be done.
It can be done.
This builds back up on something I was telling you. It's like, there's a power in deciding.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I decide or I commit to doing this. Like I don't know if it's a divine power or what, but there's a power in that. And there's also this other statement that I keep repeating to myself every time things are not necessarily going the way I want them to go. It's like, there is quite a number of people out there that are waiting for you to take that decision.
Yeah.
Because you don't know the number of lives that you're actually going to be able to change with this podcast, with this initiative, with all the things that you're doing. There's so many people that are going to be inspired by what you do. There's so many lives that you'll be able to change by what you do. And if you don't do that, it's an insult to all those people that might not even be aware that they need you until they do, right? So all those people that are out there that haven't discovered the essence of your purpose and all the gifts that you have to share, by you not being bold enough to step out there and to do what you need to do in alignment with your purpose, by not doing that, it's literally an insult to all those people, and it's an insult to the potential that God has placed in you, right? So you have to be able to remember that it's much, much bigger than yourself, and that there's so many people out there that are literally waiting for you to take that decision and to do the things that you need to do in order to change their lives as well. That is powerful. But I think I was sharing something, just picking back on what we've been sharing, what we've been talking about challenges and how to look at them. And I told you that it's something that I was thinking about last week literally, that there's different ways that you can look at challenges, very different ways. You can look at it as, life is being unfair to me, or, okay, bad luck. You can look at it in so many different ways. But you can also look at it in the perspective of life or God or the universe, or whatever you want to call it, testing you. And this is something that I truly believe in. Whenever you're working on something that has enough weight to it, it never comes easy. It's never a smooth process. So you have to look at it as a way that life uses to make sure that you are actually
fit for it.
Exactly fit for it and willing to face anything on your journey towards achieving that goal or that purpose that has been placed in you. That's life's way of sifting through different people and making sure that, okay, when this and that is thrown at you, how are you reacting? That's how you'll be able to actually have people who have enough determination, enough motivation, enough conviction to actually go and achieve what they're set to achieve. Because if you don't have a conviction deep enough, strong enough in what you're trying to build, at the first few challenges that will be thrown at you, you will give up. So life has that way of testing you. So the way you should look at it is, you're working on this thing, you truly believe in it, and you have all these things that come your way. It actually should be a confirmation that whatever you're working on is actually worth it, right? And now you look at it, and personally, that's how I look at it. It's like, okay, life, you're trying to test me. I'm going to prove to you that I'm worth that purpose that has been placed into me. I'm worth that, and I'm going to show it to you by keeping on going regardless of what is thrown at me, of all the challenges, of all the ups and downs. That's how you prove to life that you deserve to actually actualize and get fully in your purpose. That's how you get there. So sometimes it's just a question of perspective. And if you adjust your perspective, it's pretty wonderful what you can be able to actually achieve. So it's life testing you. That's how I would look at it. Yeah.
How do you define success as you craft your path?
How do I define success? So this actually brings me to something I showed you, right? It's a statement that I wrote, and I have it here, as basically, when you graduate, they ask you to leave a quote on the yearbook. And I genuinely took time to be like, okay, if I have to encapsulate my motivation as an individual in life, in a statement, what would that statement be? And I always keep getting back to it. I'm just getting to it here, but it's basically in alignment with what we've been talking about. Let me just get back to it here, and I showed it to you. This one, yeah. It's basically the statement, or maybe you'll crop or place it or whatever. So, I truly believe that your life should be nothing less than the expression of your highest potential. For me, success is that. Success is reaching a place in my 70s, 80s, and I'm literally seeing the end of the tunnel and being like, I've been able to express my potential to its fullest extent. I've used up everything that has been placed into me and shared that gift with the world. For me, that is success. For me, it's not tied to, okay, making $2 million and having a mansion, I don't know, in Mombasa or anything. For me, success is being able to know that you're living in alignment with your purpose and you are consistently pursuing and expressing your potential to its fullest extent. And I think life is about that. It's about equipping yourself and building structures around yourself that allow you to share the gift that God has placed into you with as many people as possible. That, for me, is success, because that is truly fulfilling one's life purpose. That is success. And I'm not there yet, and I'm still working on it, and I still relapse on a few things every once in a while. But because I am glad that I have clarity on where I'm going, regardless of the path that can change, just knowing that I'm pursuing that, it's not something that I would reach, but knowing that I've expressed my potential to its fullest, I'll feel like I've been successful.
Wow, that's nice. And even as we wind up on the video, how has your support network been, or how have they played a role in you crafting your path? Your friends, family, how has it been?
Well, it's a little bit of a bittersweet feeling, because sometimes when you have something maybe in your head, in your mind, you're like, yes, this is what I want to do, I want to go there, I want to work on that. In the beginning, maybe not many people see that, so you have to make sure to have people aligned with that. And it's such a blessing in life to be able to meet people that can see that potential in you. It's so beautiful because they're able to identify something in you that not many people see. And I've been, I would say, lucky enough to encounter 1 or 2 or 3 of those people. And of course, even me as an individual, I'm not there yet. I'm still, in the making. I'm still building myself. I'm still reaching towards higher goal, and I'm not perfect, but I think so far, for the people that have shown me, or that have placed belief in me in whatever I'm trying to get at, for the small things that I've already been able to initiate right now, that's beautiful. And it doesn't have to be much. Sometimes just someone looking at you in the eyes and telling you, I believe in you, and I know that you're gonna be able to do great things. Sometimes that's all the support that you need. Sometimes it can be in the form of someone that you meet randomly that allows you to have access to something that you didn't have. It's good. Sometimes it's someone resharing a video of you that they felt was impactful. That's how I even landed my first internship. It was a video about marketing or something that I just posted, and then an acquaintance of mine, we shared it with one of her friends, and she had the marketing agency, so she was like, oh, you do marketing? Okay, let's do that. But that was just in the first, when I was doing the internship. So it can come in so many different ways, in so many different forms, but at the end of the day, I don't rely much on, I first start with me. How much can I do? How far can I push myself? And I'm sure whoever is meant to be part of my journey and to help me, they're gonna just be automatically aligned energetically with me, and we're gonna go on that journey. But that's not the first thing that comes to mind whenever I'm working on anything. I'm like, I'm trying to achieve this, I'm going on this journey, and along the way, if I'm lucky enough to find people that will be able to align with that, then good. And even if there's no one, I still have the conviction that I'm heading somewhere, and I'll eventually be able to find a circle that will be supportive. That's how I look at it.
Well, it first starts with you.
Yeah, it starts with you. Don't start by relying on anyone else, because not everyone else can see what you have in you or what you're trying to do, and it's maybe just a picture in there. It's maybe just an idea. It may be something that you've written down in your journal over there. That is, maybe I can do this or that. And maybe you're shy, or you feel like, oh, that's too big, I don't want to share it with anyone. And sometimes you try to step out of your comfort zone and share it with someone that you hold in a certain way, and maybe the way they react is not necessarily the way you expect it. There's so many variables. So before even looking outwards, solidify the foundation, solidify your conviction. Because that's the most important things. And people and support, all that comes and goes. But people will be drawn to that. They'll be drawn to that drive that you have. They'll be drawn to that. They'll be drawn in that belief that you have. Because trust me, not everyone is gifted with that. Yeah. So if you're gifted enough with that, trust that you have a rare currency that not many people have, and that not many people can see. Right. So if you're gifted to have that, be your first biggest supporter, and then the rest will come.
Be your first biggest supporter. Wow, I love that. So, what advice would you give younger Ephraim, who is just starting out and trying to maneuver their way in the entrepreneurship world, in business world? What advice would you give younger you?
Towards keep going. I can approach this question in 2 ways, in 2 words, or in a paragraph, an essay, and 3 books. But I think looking back, I'm glad that I've tried all the things that I've tried.
Yeah.
Despite so many people, even sometimes colleagues and everything in uni, being like, man, I see you everywhere, trying everything, doing photography here, doing videography there, doing artwork here, doing music here, blah, blah, blah. And it can be scattered. And sometimes people will not understand what's going on with you. They can't see the connection between all those things. But now when you look backwards, you see that, okay, me trying this and this and this and this and this has led me now to narrow down to where actually I'm at, right? So the advice that I would really give myself is just keep going, and trust that it will all make sense someday, you know. And that's what I would like to even share with people really is, whatever you might be doing or working on might not make sense to many people today, might not be in alignment with what people want you, expect you to do. So I want you to always cut the external noise and listen to yourself. That's very important, because at the end of the day, you know at your core what you're meant to do. That's the most important thing. So it's 2 words, just keep going, keep going. That doesn't apply only to me, that applies to anyone else who's watching and who's onto something or getting something started. You don't need to have everything figured out right now.
When you're beginning.
You don't need to. You just need to take it 1 step at a time. As long as you know that it's in alignment with something that you're reaching at. It's like you are on a field and you see a mountain right there. There's so many million paths that you can use to reach there. You can start on this path because you're convinced this is the path, and people are like, what is this guy doing? And maybe you can reach a dead end, and the people around will look at their lives. See?
We told you.
But what you've learned there brings you on another path. But remember, the direction is always going forward. So at the end of the day, you'll end up reaching that mountain, regardless of the different path that you've taken. And you realize that on every single path and journey, you've picked up things that have equipped you to actually be able to climb that mountain and to reach the top. That's the idea.
Wow. It just requires us to start. It just requires us to come out of our comfort zone.
Oh my God.
Come out of that comfort zone and do it. Do it afraid. Do it even when everyone around you is telling you cannot do it.
Yes.
As long as you have the conviction and you know that this is what you have been called to do.
Yes.
Just start.
Yeah. And remember, you're not perfect, man. You're not perfect. We are all on our separate journeys. We all have ups and downs. Don't let the downs just keep bringing you lower.
Yeah.
As long as you know, okay, I'm reaching there, you're not perfect, so you can deflect. But as long as you get back to center and focalize on where you are heading, that is the most important thing. That is the most important thing. But take the first step with what you have, where you are.
Start wherever.
You started your podcast with a phone. You told me you started with a phone.
I started it with a phone. And I remember it was not, I didn't really want to do it because why start with a phone? And I really wanted to do audio and video, but now I didn't, at that point then, I didn't think I was able to pull it through. But I just started. And this is the 14th episode in, and I'm like, I'm so grateful to God that I just made that bold step of starting. So this is just to anyone out here, whatever it is that you think you're called to do, whatever you feel you're called to do, start afraid, start scrappy, just start. It's the minute you start, then everything else will align to you, and you will start wondering, okay, Kume, was not as hard as I thought.
And you'll see point of connection in things that you're like, why am I even wasting time doing this? But I feel like doing it. 2 years down the line, you realize, oh damn, I've learned this and this that is helping me now as I'm working towards this. But in the process, you can't see it. You just have to keep going. That's the idea. This is very powerful, guys, and I really, really want you to. If there's anything to keep from all this conversation, is that wherever you are, regardless of the circumstance, the situation, regardless of everything that seems so insurmountable, as long as you have been lucky and gifted with something, a small seed that you truly believe you can be able to grow and develop, start where you are with what you have, and you'll be surprised where that can lead you. Yeah.
Wow. And I think we have come to an end of the episode. And thank you very much, Ephraim, for your insights and just pouring your heart out on this conversation. And I hope that you have learned something. I hope that You are going to practicalize it.
Practicalize. I mean, that's a new term I've learned there. I'm adding that to my dictionary.
You're going to practicalize it, and that you're making this journey easier for you. So see you next week. I hope you have a lovely weekend. Bye.
See you guys.